In 2017, during the Easter time, the most popular channel CNN came out with an interesting documentary on Jesus. Faith, fact, forgery, you can name it. CNN cross-examined Christianity from different angles. They have taken views from different walks of life, different scholars, different priests, different ethnic background. You name it. CNN tried its level best to dissect the Christianity. Interestingly, I came across one episode that is about St. Thomas.
An ancient tradition claims Jesus sends him on a terrifying journey. He is martyred, his relics scattered.
That was a fascinating documentary because it was one of its kind about an ethnic community in India, the southern tip of India, and an international media is talking about it.
It's a little bit of a mystery. It may be there as early as the 2nd century, and maybe it's plausible that it even arrived in the 1st century.
The disciple famous in the Bible for doubt founded one of the earliest Christian churches in India.
So curiosity developed into more details, and I found out that the only man who represented the Syrian Catholic Church, for that matter, the Aramaic tradition, was Father Joseph J Palackal. And I have the pleasure of meeting him today here in Houston against the backdrop of the beautiful Houston downtown. And Father Joseph, it's a pleasure to meet you and have a few words with you.
It's an honor to be with you. Thank you for this interview.
Okay. It's going to be a straight talk. It's not a scripted talk.
But
CNN, as we all know, it's a secular channel. They have their own views on various issues. But the documentary they came out was a very fascinating one on many respects.
it's a story of the importance of faith, reason, and doubt.
What is the motive behind CNN's documentary on that subject?
Okay, CNN was trying to tell the story of Jesus through the people who were closely associated with him, starting from Mary Magdalene, Saint Peter, and then they also chose Saint Thomas. So when they decided to create a segment on Saint Thomas, they Googled several items, and by chance they saw my Aramaic project website, because it deals with Aramaic language, and they saw my writings, and finally they decided to use me as a resource person. So they emailed me just like that, saying that a company in England was producing it on behalf of CNN, Newtopia. So they emailed me and I replied. Unfortunately, I was going to London for a program at Central London at a Ukrainian Catholic cathedral. My English Mass, the Ramadava Mass, followed by a documentary that I created on Christianity in Kerala. So I invited the key people from the team to come and attend the session, and I gave a lecture. So they were fascinated by that. So they asked me, where should we go? Their team was getting ready to go to India, but they didn't have a proper idea who to meet, where to go. So I directed the traffic to the East Syriac sector, which is the Syro-Malabar sector. So the first name that came to my mind was Dr. Thomas Kunamagal. So they went to Kerala and they charted their program accordingly. So the focus was on St. Thomas Christians in Kerala. So it was by chance. As you mentioned in your introductory dialogue, I was really surprised. A secular channel like that would spend so much time and resources into research and go deep into the issue. And they used me to get ideas about Margangali, how this and how the theme of St. Thomas is being reenacted through the dance drama. So they wanted the contents of the 14 cantos of Margangali. So, and then finally they decided to interview me too as a resource person. I was lucky. There was a great honor, as you mentioned. I was the only one from Kerala, from that community. So they knew that there is a community that holds the faith in St. Thomas as the father of faith. And it was not just an ideational thing, it was intensely personal. Because we, St. Thomas Christians, believe that St. Thomas came to Kerala. You don't have to go in search of proofs. There are many people who are still going in search of proofs. But he is in us. He is within us. He carries the DNA of our faith. So the CNN, the production team understood the seriousness of our faith, and especially how we were still using Syriac Aramaic language. So that was a link between me and the team, that we are still holding the Syriac language, the language of their mother tongue. We still keep on. So that's how they came to Kerala, and I came into the picture. And the final result is, I'm not sure if that program was broadcast in India.
No, I don't think it is. It has gained as much attention it deserves. That's the reason why I am doing this follow-through interview.
Great.
There are some specifics into the St. Thomas ancestry. Christianity became an official religion from the 3rd century. Until then, it was persecutions and a lot of struggles, and people were underground or in catacombs, and doing their own community work. But when it comes to the Eastern Christianity, people want very specific proof, very scientific proof, very archaeological proof. Why those same standard is not applicable when it comes to other parts of the Christianity, like in Europe? As we go through the CNN, the commentary, we can see that they have approached the subject in 3 forms. One is the scientific approach, and the second one is the archaeological evidences, and the third one was the oral traditions. People from Harvard, Duke, Brown, or Oxford, even Oxford and Notre Dame, name it, many eminent professors from the Ivy League participated in it, and they contributed it, and they all are of the same view that although there is no material evidence to prove the existence of St. Thomas in the Kerala shores back then, but still the nature and the culture and the heritage of that community is more than enough to believe or to substantiate that it is indeed a authentic activity of a apostle. But that is the way they come to a conclusion. But that's not enough for a skeptic, and we have more skeptics back in India than the Western world.
സെൻറ്റ് തോമസ് ഇവിടെ എത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇവിടെ കാട് മാത്രമേ ഉണ്ടാവുള്ളൂ, വേറെ ഒന്നുമില്ല, ജനവാസം ഉണ്ടാവില്ല.
So, like many historians even ridicule the fact that St. Thomas is coming to Kerala is impossible, because back then Kerala was just a forest land, and there was no civilization back then over there. So how do you look at those kind of sarcasm or approach by eminent historians that India or Kerala represent or respect?
We can respect their view in the fact that we too don't have material evidence. We were not very good at keeping material evidences too. CNN's conclusion was it is possible that St. Thomas must have gone to India.
No, they use 2 words. One is possible or plausible.
Plausible. The way they framed their program, that conclusion is quite valid. We can also say it is possible and plausible. One idea, when you mentioned that St. Thomas was daring to go all the way to India, Kerala was not unknown.
Spices and aromatics, however, were being brought to the Roman world as a result of the Indian Ocean trade, as a result of connections to places like
Kerala was known to the Middle East through the spice trade. So our spice was being traded there. Second, there's a hypothesis that Jewish traders who settled in Kerala. There were Jewish colonies in Kerala. So the 7.5 churches that we are talking about, probably they were Jewish colonies. And before this interview, camera interview, during our conversation, you mentioned Acts of Thomas. In the Acts of Thomas, it says that when St. Thomas came, he met a Jewish flute-playing girl, and they talked in their language, they understood, which means there were Jewish people here. So probably that prompted him. There was already ships coming to the shores, so he joined one of the ships and he came. So that's the plausible reason.
Again back to the CNN interview or the documentary, they have on the archaeological front, they have come across some evidences on the ports of Musaris. Pattanam.
Pottery fragments have been found, thousands of which are clearly from the Mediterranean world, particularly wine amphorae, that's wine containers, on a scale that eclipses most other sites in India.
Lewis is at the British Museum in London to see a 2,000-year-old coin that could connect Thomas to India.
Coins of King Gondophares in the 19th century added a completely different element into the mix. This proves that there are some historical elements in the Acts of Thomas.
There is another point of contention is some in the Syrian church believes that their ancestors were Brahmins. Do you think is there any connection, or does Christianity need any kind of race or casteist support in order to make it more superior, or what is your take on that?
No, I don't think. We don't need to bring this Brahmin business to establish that the St. Thomas Christians are of a superior race. That probably was a later reading to show that we are somebody. But at that time there was no Brahmin influx from the north to the south. That probably happened around 7th century. That's almost established now, that the Brahmin presence did not happen before 7th century. So we don't need that. This was a Proto-Tamil speaking Dravidian race. But there was also, as you mentioned about the Pattanam project, there were so many communications. Ships came here, people came here, they brought their things here, they took things from here. So maybe some people settled down here. Even now, we use for the curtain in the stage that we use for the curtain on the stage Yavaniga. Because that is, Yavanan is Greek. And so we have borrowed so many things. So people must have settled there. So there was a racial mixture in Pattanam, in Kerala in that century. But it doesn't, in the 1st century. But it doesn't mean that the Brahmins were here. That is a restructuring of the narrative. We don't need to hold to that hypothesis. I don't think so.
So, according to the Jesus' teachings, the life and the path and the way is a new direction given to the disciples.
Yes.
And many times they had struggled to comprehend what he means.
Yes.
And St. Thomas was the only person among the 12 to question or ask questions to Jesus whenever he had trouble. And we have seen that his questions in fact answered many questions the whole world even have now. Everybody loves Jesus as a man, as a leader, as a guru. His life, his teachings is remarkable. But when it comes to Jesus' divinity, people always have a question.
Yes.
Whether he is a messenger or a guru or a mystic, but only St. Thomas' question have brought out some answers.
Yes.
Or the divinity of Jesus was established by St. Thomas' question.
Yes.
And Jesus himself witnessed to him And he said,
My Lord, my God.
that very statement is the only statement in the Bible, in the whole canonical Bible, where we can see Jesus being declared as a God. Would you think St. Thomas is getting his due weightage in the Christian world?
A tricky question. The answer is I don't. Because St. Peter was associated with Rome, and Rome was associated with political power, the narrative of early Christianity was kept on focusing on the West. They completely forgot. They forgot about what was happening here. As you clearly mentioned, St. Thomas was the first one to apply the word Allah to Jesus. Mar walah. Those are the words that St. Thomas spoke. My Lord and my God. Compared with St. Peter, Peter made a profession of faith. Jesus asked, who do you say that I am? And initially they said, oh, you are a prophet, you are St. John the Baptist reborn, or this or that. But then Jesus pointed to them, who do you say that I am? And it was St. Peter who said, you are the Messiah, Mishicha. That is the word Mishicha, meaning you are the Christ. Now, Christ, Mishicha, is a politically loaded term. It could be a superhuman being. It is not Allah. But Jesus acknowledged it, appreciated him for saying that, because Jewish people have been waiting for the Messiah. And so Peter acknowledged that this one is the Messiah that we have been waiting for. Jesus was happy with the answer, and he acknowledged and appreciated it, and he said, I will give you power. But St. Thomas was the first one to use the word Allah. And when you think that their God was Yahweh, for every Jewish person, the God is Yahweh. And they grew up in that strong monotheistic understanding of God. But St. Thomas is looking at Jesus and uses the word Allah. To him means you are torpedoing the existing concept of God. So Yahweh, and then this also is God. Now, Trinity, the concept of Trinity had not evolved yet. That took some time. Later, the revelation of the Holy Spirit, the Pentecost and all that. So it was a gradual revelation. St. Thomas jumped the gun and told in front of his friends that this is God, Allah, which is a very, very important statement. But to answer your question, he did not get credit. Jesus appreciated him. Jesus said, Jesus appreciated him for saying that, oh, now you believe because you saw me. But those who believe without seeing me are also blessed, he said. So he was referring to you and me one day. And but nobody else made that statement. St. Thomas, through that Marwala, created a revolution in the history and not only of Christianity, but in the understanding of God. And this understanding will evolve into Trinity. The Pentecost had not happened yet. So this eventually will evolve into Yahweh the Father, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Three persons, yet one God. So he initiated that conversation of breaking the strictly monotheistic idea of God as Yahweh into three persons, yet one God. Did he get credit for that? I don't think so.
Kerala, southwest India. Every year, members of an ancient Christian sect gather at the Mar Thoma shrine. They celebrate the most significant event in the history of their church.
There are two different sets of songs that we continue to sing. One is called the Ramban part, Song of the Ramban, which narrates the activities of St. Thomas, his missionary activities in Kerala. And the other is Margam Kali, Dance of the Way, which is still being danced in Kerala. Songs tell us that the apostle was well received wherever he went. People welcomed him and received his message and accepted the baptism from the apostle, and Christian communities grew.
We are sitting in America, and I have seen that although you are talking something against the popular beliefs and popular idea, your idea is being recognized by the people in the West. You are talking about the language, the original language Jesus has spoken, and the world is watching that. Oxford University has no problem acknowledging you. The US Library of Congress have no problem in calling you and taking your presentation. And Harvard University, Notre Dame University. So why the Indian church still not getting back to its own roots? So what do you think the next level in order to carry forward the mission of St. Thomas, or establishing his place in history in the rightful manner?
Interesting analysis. You are right. I did my doctoral dissertation on Syriac chants. My approach to Syriac was through music, and I realized this music is so unique. And in India, we talk only about Carnatic music and Hindustani music, period. Whatever other styles is just folk music. But Syriac chants is a system, like the raga. It is a system. There's an intellection behind that system. It is not just a cluster of melodies. And through the doctoral dissertation, I realized that this is unique. So I thought I should tell the whole world, hey, beside Hindustani and Carnatic, there is something else among the so-called Syriac Christians, St. Thomas Christians. So we need to talk to the world about this tradition. And then you will be amazed. Some of my friends and my superiors even said, you are wasting time. We left Syriac. It is obsolete. Nobody wants it.
Because it's not practical.
It is not practical.
Yeah.
People don't understand. So why do you waste your time and resources for this? I laughed within myself, but I continued, finished my doctorate studies, took my doctorate. And fortunately, my guide, Professor Stephen Blum, is someone who understood the value, just as you mentioned about Library of Congress in Oxford. He understood the value of this musical tradition. So he supported me, helped me write the dissertation. And then I thought I should create a CD. I created a CD, Kampil Mar and Syriac chants from South India. I called older priests who handled this music, and they did a recording, and a company in Netherlands published it. And that was my opening to the international world. The CD got wonderful reviews from academic journals. So that set the tone for my, created a passion in me. So after that, I thought nobody else is doing it. My people are ridiculing me, not only saying, hey, take some money and do something about it. No, don't waste your money on these things and send that money here. And so I said, but I persisted. This was, it is like the man in the parable that Jesus said, I found a field with a treasure. So I sold everything that I have and I bought the treasure. So this Aramaic language, this music tradition, the language, the sound, the way of thinking. A language also involves a way of thinking, and that evolved over centuries. And we cannot just let it die. And that's why I kept on. I still don't know why our people don't take it seriously. Yeah, although there's another correction. We are sitting here because the organizers of this Sri-Rama Convention in North America finally took note of my contributions, took note of my website, the Aramaic Project website. And the youngsters here wanted to incorporate Syriac chants into the Kurbana. So they thought, they invited me for two reasons. One, to teach them the English music, the composition, the Kurbana that I co-composed. So yesterday morning and this morning, we celebrated the Kurbana that I co-composed with George Thyla. And then they also wanted me to incorporate Syriac chants. And two very important chants we sang today. Four chants, but two very important. One is Sagadinan Mar, Lala Husar, Walna Chusar, Dila Pulaga.
So can you sing one of those chants with that, it has a certain intonation and variations.
Yes.
So,
sure. Sagadinanmar lala husag walnashu sag dlapulaga. This is from a poem written in the 7th century by a great saint, and the meaning is very interesting. Sagadinanmar, we praise you, Lord. Lala husalaha, which we mentioned earlier. Lala husag, your divinity. Walnashusag, and your humanity. Dilapulaga, without doubt. We praise you, your divinity and humanity without doubt. Now there's a trick here. The pulaga means doubt or division. So la pulaga can be also without division. Now when you apply that meaning, it becomes serious. We praise you, Lord, in your indivisible humanity and divinity. Indivisible humanity and divinity. In the history of Catholic Christian religion, we shed so much blood for this concept. How did humanity and divinity commingled in Jesus? And we had so many discussions, so many ecumenical councils, Council of Ephesus, Council of Chalcedon. All these discussions were nullified by us singing Sagadinanmar Lala Husa Walna Chusa Dilapulaga. We, in your indivisible humanity and divinity, we believe it without doubt. While the Portuguese missionaries were accusing us of heresy, we were singing in our liturgy the correct doctrine, the correct theology. That's why I thought we should bring those treasures back into the experience of the present generation, the next generation. So coming back, the organizers finally acknowledged my contribution, and they wanted, that's why they brought me here, used as a resource person. So I'm happy. Your observation is completely correct, but there are positive trends that are happening.
In America mainly, this is specially prepared for our diocese, and we took initiative to prepare these songs, and he is the man who worked behind it. So on behalf of the diocese, we appreciate his dedication and his work to complete this work of composing English Mass songs for our liturgy. Thank you, Father Palackal.
Millennials or the new generation, for that matter, even Christianity in Europe is seeking more and more evidences. And St. Thomas is one of the disciples who questioned Jesus' prophecy at various stages with a love, with a conviction, with a eagerness to learn more deeper into it. And the Guru, Jesus, took it in a positive spirit and addressed all his concerns in an amicable manner. And that is the reason we have in front of us as far as many acts of Christianity. But those traditions are not incorporated well enough in the Christianity which we come across in the universal church. For example, I was looking at the St. Thomas University in Houston. I thought it is named after the St. Thomas, but every institution under St. Thomas is named after St. Thomas Aquinas. So there is not much representation of St. Thomas in the Western world. So isn't it time the Syro-Malabar Church, work more towards it and establish their value among other churches, just like the Coptic Church of Egypt. If you look at the Coptic Church, they are recognized everywhere in Canada, US and Mexico, Russia, name it, because they still inherit their heritage without any kind of pessimism or any kind of submissiveness. Isn't it time we value our existence the way it should be?
Absolutely. The way you arrived at that point is fascinating. We definitely need to be more proud of our St. Thomas heritage. We don't need to go for material evidences. Who has material evidences from the first century?
Do we have ancient sources that attest to their antiquity all the way to the first century? No. But we don't have that kind of evidence for Christian presence anywhere.
So we should really be proud. There is, since you brought back CNN again, there is one area that CNN researchers did not look into. That is liturgy, our Kurbana.
To this day, St. Thomas Christians perform parts of the liturgy in Syriac, the language of early Christianity, close to that spoken by Jesus.
Because liturgy is sacred text. You don't mess with it. You have it and then you hand it over for generation after generation without manipulating anything. And the liturgy, our Kurbana mentions St. Thomas within the Mass. In the commemoration hymn, we refer to him as the father of our faith, which is a serious matter.
So you mean to say the oral tradition that is corroborated by different groups of the same community validate the fact that there is a main figure in the overall process?
Yes. We commemorate Blessed Virgin Mary, Saint Joseph, and Saint Thomas, and the apostles, and the apostles especially. We say by name Saint Thomas. So this has been going on. That is our evidence that faith, that Saint Thomas is the father of our faith, that our DNA, we share the same DNA, is to be taken very seriously. So, but yet we don't tell the world. We are not proud. And look at our younger people. They are ready to learn Syriac chants. They say, we want to tell our friends that we know language that Jesus spoke. We want to sing in that language. They want to find their roots and they want to be proud of it. Esraham Alay, have mercy on us. So that's beautiful. So when I go to teach younger children Syriac chants, Kandisha Alaha, I tell them, you can tell your friends, hey guys, I know a chant in the very same language that Jesus spoke. And then you can sing this to them. Kandisha Alaha, this is the Sagyo. Kandisha Hail Sala, Kandisha Lamayo Saeswahamala. In same Alaha, but St. Thomas used Marwala. He is in this Trisagyo and Kandisha Alaha, Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One. So that movement is coming from here, from North America. They live among all these kinds of people, and they when they question whether was your father a Christian, how did you get a name like Matthew, they are now proud to say, hey guys, we got faith long time ago.
We have our own history, heritage, and advancements, and a share in the history. Isn't it time the Syro-Malabar Church, focus on those ideals and evolve into a new genre of proud believers?
It's so weird, the presentation that you made. That mindset was there in the early Christianity in India. You know what was the name given to Christianity? The word Christianos happened in Antioch. So they didn't know how to call followers of Jesus. Was it just Jewish? Is it an offshoot, like a Hasidic offshoot of Judaism? Or is it something else? They didn't know what to do with this. Because initially they were still going to the temple and worshipping, continuing the Jewish practices. Eventually, they called the followers of Jesus Christianos, meaning followers of Jesus. But in India, we have another term for this new movement that was called Margam. Margam.
The way.
The way.
Yeah.
The origin of that word is from the Buddhist. Buddha, Margam. Buddha proposed the new movement as Margam, way, Ashtanga Margam. So we had no problem. There were so many religions, but this is our Margam.
Even the Buddhism has evolved from the Hinduism.
Yes.
And it is again the enlightenment of the rich and powerful king.
Yes. Yes. So we adopted the idea of a new path to reach God. So St. Thomas' message was fully accepted and they indigenized it. They didn't call Christianos because they didn't speak Greek. They didn't call by any other name. They adopted an existing Pali or Sanskrit word which is used in the context of Buddhism and called this movement Margam. That's why we have Margam Kali. This Margam Kali in fact is not about Kali about Jesus. The story is about St. Thomas. So there was a time when we were fully indigenized. Then slowly we lost that identity. As you mentioned, when the Portuguese came, initially we might have had, we resisted them, their imposition of Latin and other culture. But slowly we adopted. And then we began to keep pictures of Jesus, blue-eyed, blonde-haired Jesus. This is Jesus. And Blessed Virgin Mary, beautiful Italian models.
Even the Saint Alphonse, people say that it's not the original picture.
Soon Saint Alphonse's statues will have blue eyes because we are so servile in us. That servitude, intellectual slavery is so prominent. When you go to Kerala and look at the modern mega crore churches, they spend crores and crores of rupees to create churches, but the architecture is the same that the Portuguese made. The paintings, the interior decorations are all, we have nothing to contribute. And Kerala is a culturally rich place. But no church authority, no bishop, no vicar said, hey, we need to create a different form of architecture that grows from this soil. No, when you enter the church, it is like the colors, the way interior decorations are all similar to what we see in Europe. So we have not been able to wean ourselves, liberate ourselves from that intellectual servitude. Maybe the next generation will do that. Maybe conversations like this, because you are challenging the status quo.
I'm just conducting this interview on the lines of CNN's findings. If a international, secular, people say left-leaning channel is coming out with a documentary on an ethnic community in the end of the world, there is some substance to it, and that created curiosity in me, and I find that the world is looking at you, and the world is recognizing you, and the intellectual circle is ready to accept the fact that this is one of the miracles happened in the Christian world, and that's what the whole purpose of this conversation. And I'm so glad that I could meet you here in Houston Syro-Malabar International Convention. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and your answers.
I'm so happy this was an intellectually stimulating conversation, and I hope the viewers will have a chance to redirect their thoughts and explore more from where we stopped. They can go further.
Okay.
And you never know what the outcomes will be. God bless. God bless you. Thank you for the work that you do.
Okay, thank you so much.
And he is the man who worked behind it. So on behalf of the diocese, we appreciate his dedication